Hey Bookish Babes, and welcome to the 12 Days of Vlogmas, Day 4. For those that are new around here, my name's Rainey. I teach music and I also read all sorts of books. Thriller, horror are my main things, but I also love fantasy, romance, sci-fi, nonfiction, dark romance, all of the things. So please make sure to like and subscribe underneath here so that you are able to see the rest of my videos and you can really help my channel grow. In today's video, we are on day 4 of the 12 Days of Vlogmas, and we are going to be talking about 23 books that I am going to hopefully be reading in 2023. And we're also going to talk about, now I never actually made a video for this, I just posted an Instagram photo on this, but we're going to talk about the books that I chose for 2022 and whether I read those ones or not. And which books I have on the docket for this year. So with that being said, I'm going to put a picture on the screen of the 22 books that I was supposed to read in 2022. And then I'm going to put a check mark next to the ones that I actually did read. And then we'll see how many I actually was successful with for 2022, not keeping any accountability. Like, I didn't write this list down anywhere. I only took a picture on Instagram. So the fact that I got to as many books as I did, really surprises me. Because honestly, I didn't remember what books I put on this list, and I feel like that's bad. So here's a picture of all of the books that I read or I was going to read for 2022. And the only ones that I actually got to were Normal People, They Never Learn, Bunny, Verity, The Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires, People We Meet on Vacation, The Push, In My Dreams I Hold a Knife, and The Love Hypothesis. So I never got to Song of Achilles. I never got to A Little Life or The Ravens or The Night Circus or The House in the Cerulean Sea, or The Midnight Library, or The Once and Future Witches, or Punk 57, or Flock, or The Four Winds, or The Lovely War, or The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue, or These Violent Delights. But you know, those are still books that I want to hit in the near distant future. They just didn't happen. So altogether, that is a total of 9 out of 22. I almost read half of them. Like I said again, I didn't write this list down anywhere, so I'm honestly mighty surprised that I actually read any of these books. And some of them are in, actually, how many of them are in my top of the year? Let's see. 1, 2 of them. 2 of them are in my top 10 books of the year. So I would say that that's a success. All right, now we're going to talk about the books that I'm going to plan on reading in 2023, the 23 books that I want to get to. And I'm going to start mostly with new releases, and I do not have summaries for these, but I will look on Goodreads for these to tell you, so that I tell you a little bit about each book, and then we'll see what books I hopefully am going to get to, and I'm very excited about this list, so I really do hope that I get to each and every book that is on this list for 2023. So the first book that I want to get to in 2023 is How to Sell a Haunted House by Grady Hendrix, which originally it was supposed to come out last year on my birthday in July, and then Mr. Henry pushed it back like 6 months, but you know what? I'll forgive him for now. And this book says, your past and your family can haunt you like nothing else. Every childhood home is haunted and each of us are possessed by our parents. When their parents die at the tail end of the coronavirus pandemic, Louise and Mark Joyner are devastated, but nothing can prepare them for how bad things are about to get. The 2 siblings are almost estranged and couldn't be different. However, they don't have a choice but to get along. They're facing bank accounts ravaged by the meltdown, or economic meltdown. Their one asset, their childhood home. They need to sell it as soon as possible because they need the money. Yet before her parents died, they taped newspaper over the mirrors and nailed shut the attic door. As disturbing events stack up in the house, Louise and Mark have to learn that sometimes the only way to break away from the past, sometimes the only way to sell a haunted house, is to burn it all down. So of course, that sounds very interesting to me. It already has a 4.12 on Goodreads. Like, people are loving it, so I'm really hoping that I will love it as well. Oh, and that book comes out on January 17th, so that comes out fairly soon. The next book that I want to read is Happy Place by Emily Henry, and that comes out on April 25th. And that one says it's about a couple who broke up months ago makes a pact to pretend to still be together for their annual week-long vacation with their best friends. Harriet and Wynn have been the perfect couple since they met in college. They go together like salt and pepper, honey and tea, lobster and rolls, except for now, reasons they're not discussing, they don't. Broke up 6 months ago and still haven't told their best friends, which is how they find themselves sharing the largest bedroom at the main cottage that has been their best friend's yearly getaway for the last decade. Their annual respite from the world, where for one vibrant blue week, they leave behind their daily lives. Only this year, Harriet and Wynn are lying through their teeth while trying not to notice how desperately they still want each other. Because the cottage is for sale and this is the last week they'll all have together in this place, they can't stand to break their friends' hearts and so they'll play their parts. Harriet will be the driven, surgical resident who never starts a fight, and Wynn will be the laid-back charmer who never lets the cracks show. It's a flawless plan. After years of being in love, how hard can it be to fake it for 1 week? In front of those who know you best. Well, obviously they're going to get back together. Like, I can just tell that already from this summary. But I'm very excited to get to this because I loved People We Meet on Vacation and Book Lovers this year. so I'm hoping that I will love this one as well. The next book that I want to get to is All the Dangerous Things by Stacey Willingham. She also wrote A Flicker in the Dark, which I just read and absolutely loved. This one comes out on January 10th. However, I already have it because it was a book of the month selection for December. I just haven't gotten to it yet. And this one is about a year ago, Isabel Drake's life changed forever. Her toddler, Mason, was taken out of his crib in the middle of the night while she and her husband were asleep in the next room. The case goes cold. She can't rest until he's returned to her. Except for the occasional catnap or small blackout where she loses track of time, she hasn't slept in a year. Her entire existence revolves around finding him, but she knows she can't go on this way forever. She ends up agreeing to be interviewed by a true crime podcaster, but his interest in her past makes her nervous. His questioning, paired with her severe insomnia, has brought up uncomfortable memories from her own childhood, making her start to doubt her recollection of the night of his disappearance, as well as second-guess who she can trust. But she's determined to figure out the truth, no matter where it leads. And I'm very excited to read this as well. It already has really great reviews for this one as well, so I'm sure I'm going to really love this, hopefully just as much as I loved A Flicker in the Dark. Next one that I plan on reading is The Only One Left by Riley Sager, which comes out on June 20th. And I'm very excited for this one. I love the cover of this one, honestly. And it says, it's a gothic chiller about a young caregiver assigned to work for a woman accused of a Lizzie Borden-like massacre decades earlier. At 17, Lenora Hope hung her sister with a rope. Now reduced to a schoolyard chant, the Hope family murders shocked the Maine coast one bloody night in 1929. While most people assume 17-year-old Lenora was responsible, the police were never able to prove it. Other than her denial after the killings, she's never spoken publicly about that night, nor has she set foot outside Hope's End, the cliffside mansion where the massacre occurred. Stabbed her father with a knife, took her mother's happy life. It's now 1983, and home health aide Kit McDeer arrived at a decaying Hope's End to care for Lenora after her previous nurse fled in the middle of the night. In her 70s and confined to a wheelchair, she was rendered mute by a series of strokes and can only communicate by tapping sentences on an old typewriter. One night, she uses it to make a tantalizing offer. "I want to tell you everything. It wasn't me." But she's not the only one dead. As Kit helps Lenora write about the events leading to the massacre, it becomes clear there's more to the tale than people know. But when details about her predecessor's departure comes to light, Kit starts to suspect Lenora might be not be telling the complete truth, and that the seemingly harmless woman in her care could be far more dangerous than she first thought. That sounds really good. And I'm hoping it's really good and that he pulls it together, because the last two books, Survive the Night and The House Across the Lake, have been real stinkers. So come on, Mr. Riley. I know you can do it. The next one doesn't actually have a publication date, but it says it's coming out in 2023, and so I believe her, and it is The Boyfriend Candidate by Miss Ashley Winstead. Of course I have to read it because I've given all three of her other books 5 stars. And this is another romance by her. It says, as a shy school librarian, Alexis Stone is comfortable keeping out of the spotlight, but when she's dumped for being too meek in bed, the humiliation is a wake-up call. She decides she needs to change, and what better way to kickstart her new, more adventurous life than with her first one-night stand. Enter Logan, the gorgeous, foul-mouthed stranger she meets at a hotel bar. Logan is audacious and filterless, making him Alexis's opposite, and boy, do opposites attract. Just as she's about to fulfill her hookup wish, the hotel catches fire in a freak lightning storm, and in their rush to escape, Logan is discovered carrying her into the street where people are waiting with cameras. Cameras that Logan promptly and shockingly flees. Alexis is bewildered until breaking news hits. Pictures of her and Logan escaping the fire are all over the internet. It turns out Logan is none other than Logan Arthur, the hotshot politician challenging the Texas governor's seat. The salacious images are poised to sink his career and jeopardize Alexis's job, until a solution is proposed. To squash the scandal, he and Alexis could pretend to be in a relationship until election day in 2 months. What could possibly go wrong? I'm very excited for this. And if I remember right, I'm pretty sure Alexis was one of the best friends in the Fool Me Once book. This is like a sequel, but not really a sequel, like following different characters. I think I'm right. I could be very much wrong. I'm very excited for this. Like I said, I've given every single Ashley Winstead book 5 stars so far, and so I'm sure this is going to follow suit, honestly. And then the last book that I want to read that is coming out in 2023, that there is also not details on the date for this either, is also by Ashley Winstead, and it's her newest thriller, Midnight is the Darkest Hour. And there is no synopsis for this, but I want to read it. I know it's going to be great, and that's all there is to say about that. So those are all of the new releases that I want to read. So now we're just going to get to like releases in general that I want to get to. So the 7th book that I want to read for 2023 is Legends and Lattes by Travis Baldree. I've been wanting to read this for a minute. I am very excited to get to this. And this one says, this is about a battle-weary orc that wants to start fresh, opening the first ever coffee shop in the city of Thune. But rivals old and new stand in the way of success, not to mention the fact that no one has the faintest idea what coffee actually is. If she wants to put the blade behind her and make her plans a reality, she won't be able to do it alone. But the true rewards of the uncharted path are the travelers you meet along the way, and whether drawn together by ancient magic, a flaky pastry, or a freshly brewed cup, they may become partners, family, and something deeper than she ever could have dreamed. I'm so excited for this. I've heard it's all the warm and cozy vibes that you could ever possibly want, and I'm very excited to finally get to it. And there is a bonus prequel story in this edition. Can't wait. The 8th book that I want to read for 2023 is Brother by Anya Allborn. I've been wanting to read this for a while. I've heard it's a cannibal story. I'm not really sure. It says, it's a teenager determined to break from his family's unconditional and deeply disturbing traditions. Deep in the heart of Appalachia stands a crooked farmhouse miles from any road. The Moros keep to themselves, and it served them well so far. When girls go missing off the side of the highway, the cops don't knock on their door, which is a good thing seeing as to what's buried in their backyard. But 19-year-old Michael isn't like the rest of his family. He doesn't take pleasure in the screams that echo through the trees. He pines for normalcy, and he's sure someday he'll see the world beyond West Virginia. When he meets Alice, a pretty girl working at a record shop in the small nearby town, he's immediately smitten. For a moment, he nearly forgets about the monster that he's become. But his brother Rebel is all too eager to remind Michael of his place. I am so excited to read this. Haley says it's one of her favorite books, and I believe everything she says because she really knows good thriller books. So I am excited to get to this. The next book that I want to read for 2023 is Tricky Magic by L.L. Campbell. This was highly recommended by my friend Montel from Nell's Novels over on Instagram. And this one says it's about Elia is a witch, a mix of both the respected seers and the feared tricksters. On top of that, she's also spent her whole life in the shadows of her parents' infamous attempted destruction. After Elia's frequent and feared vision of the future shifts into something darker and more terrifying than before, she runs to a town that used to be a haven for her as a child. But things are no longer as they seem. The world of supernaturals is so much more than she thought, and after a run-in with a mysterious hunter, she finds her and her powers spiraling. Will the town of Glenover be the place she finally leaves her fears behind and embraces a new future, or will her powers become destructive and result in her own destruction by the frustratingly handsome hunter? Sounds right up my alley, and it is, like, fantasy-ish, so I'm going to be fulfilling some fantasy goals for sure. The 10th book that I want to get to this year is Magnolia Parks by Jessa Hastings. I have heard nothing but fabulous stuff from this from Locke's Library and lots of other people, and I just want to get to it. And I do own this book. I don't know where it is at the moment, so that's why I'm looking at my phone for the description. But it says, she's a beautiful, affluent, self-involved, and mildly neurotic London socialite. He's Britain's most photographed bad boy who broke her heart. But Magnolia Parks and BJ Ballantyne are meant to be, and everyone knows it. They're in the stars, just suspended in a strange kind of love that looks like hurting each other a lot of the time. She dates other people to keep him at bay. He sleeps with other girls to get back at her for it. But at the end of their very sad endeavor to get over one another, it's still each other they crawl back to. But their dysfunction is catching up with them, pulling at their seams and fraying the world they've built. A world where neither has to ever let the other go completely. As the cracks start to show and secrets begin to surface, Magnolia and BJ are finally forced to face the question they've been avoiding all their lives. How many loves do you really get in a lifetime? I love this cover, first off. I'm just so excited to get to this book. I just can't wait. I'm not waiting any longer. I'm going to read it ASAP. The 11th book that I want to get to in 2023 is We Do What We Do in the Dark by Michelle Hart. This was recommended by someone on Instagram. I can't remember his name right now. If I remember, I will tag him down below for his Instagram. But this one says, when the person you want is the person you want to be. Mallory's in her first year of college when she meets the woman. She sees her for the first time at the university's gym and is immediately entranced by this elegant older person who she later learns is married and works at the school. Before long, they begin an affair. The woman absolutely consumes Mallory, who's still reeling from her mother's death a few months earlier. She retreats from the rest of the world and into a relationship with this melancholy, elusive woman she admires so much, yet who can never be fully hers, solidifying a sense of solitude that has both haunted and soothed her as long as she can remember. Years after the affair has ended, Mallory must decide whether to stay safely in this isolation or to step fully into the world and confront what the woman meant to her, for better or worse. And I've heard this debut novel is beautiful, and I just want to read it. I don't know. It just speaks to me. I mean, I bought it and I haven't read it. And I know when I bought it, I really wanted to read it. I mean, that's how I feel with most books, but that's neither here nor there. The next book that I want to read for 2023 is Jade Legacy by Fonda Lee. Because I've read Jade City, I've read Jade War, and it's time to finish this series once for all. Which, in my reading goals one from yesterday, I said I was going to finish books from here on out. So, you know what? I'm a little scared to see how this one's going to end. But you know what? I'm very excited to get to it. And I'm not going to explain it, because if you haven't read Jade City or Jade War, this will ruin that for you. So no explanation. Another book that I want to read in 2023 is Gothikana by Runix. I've had this on a couple of TBRs and haven't gotten to it yet. I wish that during this video, I would have been able to show you my special edition box, because I did get a special edition box of this book with a bunch of other goodies, because I really wanted it. But this is about, let's see. An outcast her entire life, Corvina Clem is left adrift after losing her mother. When she receives the admissions letter from the mysterious University of Barrymore, she accepts it as a sign from the universe. The last thing she expects is an old and secluded castle on top of a mountain riddled with secrets, deceit, and death. And then there's this guy named Vad Deverell. He likes being a closed book, but knowing exactly everything that happens in the university. He's a part-time professor working on his thesis, and he knows the dangers the castle possesses, and he knows the moment his paths cross with Corvina, she's dangerous to everything he is. They shouldn't have caught each other's eye, they can't be, but a chill-inducing century-old mystery forces them to collide. People have disappeared every 5 years for over 100 years, and Corvina is getting clues to unraveling it all, and Vad needs to keep an eye on her. So it's like a forbidden romance. Ooh la la. I'm so excited to get to this as well, and I can't wait to show my new edition of copy. But I'm going to keep both of these, of course. The next book that I want to read in 2023 is the other book by Emily Henry, Beach Read, because I've never actually read this. And this was like the first one, I think, out of all of them. And so in this one, we have Augustus Everett. He's an author of literary fiction, and then January Andrews writes best-selling romance, and they're complete polar opposites in their writing. The only thing they have in common is that for the next 3 months, they're living in neighboring beach houses, and they both have writer's block, and they don't like each other. One hazy evening, one thing leads to another. They strike a deal where he's going to write something happy, and she's going to write the next great American novel, and basically they're going to finish a book, and no one's going to fall in love. But really, they're going to fall in love, because we know how these books work out. But I can't wait to get to this because I really do love everything that Emily Henry writes. The next book that I'm going to read, I'm actually reading in January for my Besties book club that I host with Neva and Brittany, and that is Catherine House. I've been wanting to read this for a hot minute, but people say this book is weird, and I just don't know what to expect. But it's about some young undergraduate whose rebelliousness leads her to discover a shocking secret involving an exclusive circle of students and the dark truth beneath her school's promise of prestige. But that is all that I'm going to say, because the rest of this synopsis does not make sense to me. So it's a weird, like, Victorian-style house for, like, a university. But everybody that I've heard about this says that it's, like, the weirdest book ever. And some people love it, and some people don't. So I don't know if I'm going to like it or not. It has a very low rating on Goodreads. It has a 3.11. So I don't know if I'm going to be one of those people that loves it like I did Bunny, or I'm not going to like it. The next book that I want to read is Behind Her Eyes by Sarah Pinborough. I read her book Insomnia last year, or this year, and absolutely, I really, really liked it. I think I gave it a 4-star. And I've read that if you read this and then the epilogue to Insomnia, it makes so much more sense. And so I plan on doing that. But this one is about Louise, a single mom and secretary who's deeply embarrassed when she discovers that the man who sweet-talked and kissed her in the bar on a rare night out is her new boss, David, and Adele, who's new to town and lonely, who invited her for coffee when they bumped into each other on the street, is his wife. From the outside, David and Adele look like a picture-perfect husband and wife, but why is David so controlling? Why is Adele so scared? As Louise is drawn further into David and Adele's orbit, she uncovers more puzzling questions. The only thing that's crystal clear is that something in this marriage is very wrong, but she can't guess how wrong or how far a person might go to protect their marriage's secrets. I'm very excited to get to this. I've heard this twist is very shocking, but also that it's like really outlandish and you either love it or you don't. And I love a good outlandish plot twist, so I'm probably going to love it. Up next, we have The Grace Year by Kim Liggett. This is a YA book. However, everyone that talks about this book says that they loved it, whether they love YA or not. So I feel like I've got to get to it, finally. It says, in Garner County, girls are told they have the power to lure grown men from their beds to drive women mad with jealousy. They believe their skin emits a powerful aphrodisiac, the potent essence of youth, of a girl on the edge of womanhood. That's why they're banished for their 16th year to release their magic into the wild so they can return purified and ready for marriage. But not all of them will make it home alive. 16-year-old Tierney James dreams of a better life, a society that doesn't pit friend against friend or woman against woman. But as her own Grace Year draws near, she quickly realizes it's not just the brutal elements they must fear. It's not even the poachers in the woods, men who are waiting for a chance to grab one of the girls in order to make a fortune on the black market. Their greatest threat may very well be each other. And like I said, I've not heard anybody say anything bad about this book. Everyone rants and raves about this book, so I definitely needed to put it on my list for 2023. The next book that I want to read is The First Day of Spring by Nancy Tucker, and I'm actually reading this in July for my Besties book club. You're hearing that early. Wink, wink, not, not. Okay, so anyway, this one is about a girl named Chrissy who's 8, and she killed a boy, and it's a secret. And her playmates are cheerful and their mothers are terrified, keeping them locked indoors. But she rules the roost. She's the best at wall walking. She knows how to get free candy. And now she has a feeling of power that she never gets at home. 20 years later, she's living in hiding under a changed name. A single mother, all she wants is for her daughter to have the childhood she herself was denied. That's why the threatening phone calls are so terrifying. People are looking for them. The past is catching up. And Chrissy fears losing the only thing in this world that she actually cares about, her child. And I'm so excited for this book. It sounds so riveting. I'm so surprised that I hardly hear anybody talk about this book. I can't wait to dive in. Another book I plan on reading for 2023 is Middlegame by Shauna McGuire. And no, I did not tab this. I bought this on Pango and it came pre-tabbed and I just haven't taken the tabs out yet. And I'm kind of annoyed that happened, but at least there's no writing in it. So you got to be grateful where you can. But this one says it's about Roger, skilled with words, languages come easily to him. He instinctively understands how the world works through the power of story. Meet Dodger, his twin. Numbers are her world, her obsession, her everything. All she understands she does through the power of math. Roger and Dodger aren't exactly human. They don't realize it. They're not gods either. Not yet. Meet Reed, skilled in the alchemical arts like his progenitor before him. Reed created Dodger and her brother. He's not their father, but he has a plan to raise the twins to the highest power, to ascend with them and claim their authority as his own. Because godhood is attainable. Pray it isn't attained. And yeah, I'm very excited to get to this. I really want to read this. I love Seanan McGuire's other series, his My Heart is Every Heart is the Doorway. I'm really loving that series, so I think I will love this as well. And we'll see. Then we have what I'm going to be picking actually as my buzzword for July for Kayla's Buzzwords Club or Challenge selections, which that's a video coming out very soon. And that is Project Hail Mary by Andy Weir. I've been wanting to read this for a hot minute. Everyone I know loves this book. Even people like, for example, Chandler Ainsley loved this book. And she's a romance girly. So I feel like it's got to be good. I've heard it's really funny. It says, Ryland Grace is the sole survivor on a desperate last chance mission, and if he fails, humanity and Earth itself will perish. Except right now he doesn't know that. He can't remember his own name, let alone the nature of his assignment or how to complete it. All he knows is he's been asleep for a very long time, and he's just been awakened to find himself millions of miles away from home with nothing but 2 corpses for company. His crewmates are dead, his memories fuzzily returning, and he realizes that an impossible task confronts him. Hurtling through space on this tiny ship, it's up to him to puzzle out an impossible scientific mystery and conquer an extinction-level threat to our species. And with the clock ticking down and the nearest human being light years away, he's got to do it all alone. Or does he? So, yeah, I've heard it's very comical, and then I definitely need to listen to the audiobook, so you know I will be hitting that up. You're at a different angle because my camera battery died, and I have to film this tonight, so it is what it is. The last 3 books, you are not going to get book descriptions for because I had the descriptions on my phone, and now I'm using my phone as my camera. So it is what it is. One that I had on the list for last year that I still plan on reading for this year is A Little Life by Hanya Yanagihara. I want to understand the hype behind this book. I want to understand why people call it torture porn. I want to know. So I'm going to read it. And I'm a little scared because it's like 900 pages or something like that. Then I also want to read Penpal by Dathan Hour. I think that's how you say his name. And I'm pretty sure, if I remember correctly, that one is about this little kid that ends up they end up getting pen pals or putting balloons in the air, and whoever finds their balloon is their pen pal. But the person that ends up being his pen pal ends up torturing him every year or something like that. And it's really creepy. And each chapter is like a different part of his life. I'm not entirely sure on that. I could be 100% wrong on that. I'm just remembering what I think Haley said in a vlog recently. But I've heard that one's really good and really scary. So I definitely want to get to that at some point. And then the last book that I want to get to in 2023 is called Master of Salt and Bone by Carrie Lake. And I have no idea what it's about. It's also recommended from my friend Chantel from Nell's Novels. And if I was able to give you the description right now, I would. Maybe I'll pop the description up on here really quick so you can see it. But I really want to get to it. It looks good. And with that, those are the 23 books that I want to get to in 2023. Some of them are on other lists, so that I'm not just picking a whole new one, because some of them, for example, are also on my 30 before 30, because I have to read 30 of these, 30 additional books before I turn 30 on July 12th, which I can't believe I'm turning 30. That blows my mind, and I'm just scared to say that out loud. But anyway, I'm excited to get to these books. I hope, let me know in the comments down below if any of these are in your 23 books for 23, or which one I should prioritize first, if there's one that you really think I would enjoy more than others. And then get excited for day 5, where I'm going to be sharing my buzzword books that I'm going to be reading, my TBR for the buzzword challenge for Kayla's buzzword challenge readathon. And I'm also going to be getting some additional selections that you could pick, ideas in case you're not sure what to do for your buzzword reading challenge. So get excited for that. And with that, I'll see you on day 5.